What's up, Guffers? This is Joey from Grown Up Fantasy Football, and today I'm at the grown up table talking about grown up things. All right, so today I am installing part one of a series I'm calling Fantasy Frankensteins, where I take certain attributes from different positions and assign a player to each attribute. Couple of rules. One, I'm using statistics from playerprofiler.com, which is a Roto Underworld site, so shout out Roto Underworld. And secondly, I can only use each player one time. So if I use, Ezekiel Elliott for one attribute, I can't use him for another one. So with that being said, let's get into it. The first attribute I'm looking at is arm strength, and I'm measuring that by the statistics of deep ball attempts, completed air yards, yards per attempt, and throw velocity. So after looking at all these statistics from a bunch of big names and some of the biggest performers of 2019, the player I chose for the arm strength attribute is Dallas Cowboys quarterback Dak Prescott. So in 2019, Dak threw 78 deep balls. He threw for 3,098 air yards that were completed. He had 8.1 yards per attempt, throwing at 54 miles per hour. Pretty fast. And he was a league-high 48.7% on deep balls. Dak's an incredible quarterback. He kind of broke out last year with the Kellen Moore offense, and now he's got Mike McCarthy, who had a very pass-happy offense in Green Bay. They've drafted CeeDee Lamb to pair with Amari Cooper and Michael Gallup. They've got a ton of weapons, one of the best offensive lines according to Pro Football Focus, and he can only go up from here. So I chose Dak Prescott for my arm strength attribute. Moving on. Attribute number 2 is accuracy, and I'm measuring accuracy by completion percentage, deep ball completion percentage, play action completion percentage, an accuracy rating, which Player Profile describes as a ranking from 1 to 10, with 7 to 10 being the most accurate, and overall passer rating. So after looking at these statistics and a little bit of projection, I chose Drew Brees for my accuracy attribute for my Fantasy Frankenstein. So in 2019, Drew Brees had an overall 79.6 completion percentage. On the deep ball, he was throwing 42.4%, and on play action, he had a 70.7 completion percentage. He rated as a 7.9 in accuracy and had a 112 passer rating. So Drew Brees, everybody knows he's one of the most accurate quarterbacks in the league. He basically kind of designed the offense he's running with Sean Payton. He's got incredible help at receivers with one of the best in the league, Michael Thomas. They brought in Emmanuel Sanders this year, who's only going to help him. They've got Alvin Kamara in the backfield, and they've got the second-rated offensive line from Pro Football Focus. They're keeping him upright, and he's slinging it all over the field. It's a great pick, in my opinion, and that's who I chose for my accuracy attribute for my Fantasy Frankenstein. Moving on. So the third attribute I'm looking at is pocket awareness. And I've kind of described that as having a good pressured completion percentage under pressure, having a good completion percentage with a clean pocket, and throwaways / incompletions. So after looking at the statistics and kind of looking ahead, there were a bunch of players that really stood out, and one in particular that I chose that you can't really leave off this list is, of course, Super Bowl MVP, Patrick Mahomes. So in 2019, Mahomes had a 44.7 completion percentage while under pressure, and also had a 72.4 completion percentage when the pocket was clean. He threw the ball away around 104 times, including incompletions in there. So in 2019, Patrick Mahomes was kind of banged up around mid-season. He had a patella injury and an ankle injury that kind of held him out of a couple games. However, once he got back, he literally took the team to the Super Bowl and won it. So he's incredibly talented with a whole slew of weapons, including the new Clyde Edwards-Helaire running back, and has one of the best offensive lines, according to Pro Football Focus. He's going to do great, and you can't leave him off this list. So he's my choice for pocket awareness. So moving on. The fourth attribute I'm looking at is Scramble Ability. Can they get out of the pocket and make something happen with their legs? And basically the statistics I'm looking at are their rushing statistics. And I don't think he needs any introduction because I think we all know who this is going to be. Of course, league MVP, Lamar Jackson. Lamar ran 75 times for 1,213 yards and had 7 touchdowns. I mean, the guy's a beast. You got running back 1 numbers from a quarterback 1 if you had him on your team. Incredible. So, I mean, there's a lot of other players that had a really good rushing season. There's some stats like Josh Allen, Deshaun Watson had great seasons on the ground, but none of them really compared to Lamar. He just blew them all out of the water. So Lamar Jackson's my choice for the Scramble Ability attribute. And the fifth and final attribute I'm looking at is what I'm calling the clutch factor. So it's kind of hard to quantify that, but I tried my best with statistics from last year. And the stats I was looking at are fantasy points per game, fantasy points per dropback. Danger plays is what Player Profile describes as taking unnecessary risks with the ball, and money throws. And that's what Player Profiler describes as making throws that require intense athleticism and skill while in the clutch. So the player that I chose for my clutch factor attribute is none other than Mr. Discount Double Check himself, Aaron Rodgers. So based on the 2019 stats, Aaron Rodgers scored you about 17 fantasy points per game. Not great, but not bad. He also had about 0.42 points per dropback. Also not great, but not bad. But this is kind of where he separated himself, in my opinion. He had 17 danger plays, which was on the lower end, and had a league-high 34 money plays. He also threw a 60% completion percentage while in the red zone. So everybody knows Aaron Rodgers as one of the best comeback artists. You know, remember him coming back against the Cowboys in the playoffs in 2016. The Hail Mary he kind of threw against Detroit. Sorry, Lions fans. You know, you want to put the ball in Aaron Rodgers' hands when it's crunch time. At least I do. He's going to put the ball in the right place, make sound decisions under pressure. You can't really ask for much more. Now, there's a couple other players that were really close to Aaron Rodgers, especially Russell Wilson. But I chose Aaron Rodgers. That's my choice. So he rounds out the fifth attribute for my Fantasy Frankenstein. So that's what I got for my Fantasy Frankenstein. So leave a comment below what you think of my Frankenstein quarterback, and leave a comment of what you would put as your Fantasy Frankenstein quarterback. Be sure and subscribe to us wherever you're listening or watching, and follow us on Twitter and at Facebook at GrownUpFF. So be sure to subscribe, grow up, and get guffed.